Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Please pardon the bags under my eyes. It's been a long day. I'm tired. I'm in my PJs again. I never try to make a fashion statement. So I'm back with another video. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a personal favorite topic of mine in the realm of entertainment, and that would be 007, James Bond. This is a long running series. Started back in the 50s as far as books. I've never read any of the books, but I've seen every one of the official James Bond movies and even a couple of the unofficial ones that I'll briefly touch on. It's always been a series that I really like. As far as Bond character, he's a little bit, not so much for our current times and culture at the moment, but, he's a very popular character still to this day, despite all that. Like I said, he's been around over 50 years. There's been a lot of changes there's changes in quality in the movie and in the character and whatnot. But out of all the Bonds, one of the most controversial, not controversial, one of the biggest discussion points you'll get in between fans of the long running series is who's the best Bond, and everybody's going to have their own choice on that. Me personally, I don't care who doesn't like this. Roger Moore is always going to be James Bond to me. He was the Bond kind of when I grew up. I loved his portrayal of the character, so suave. It's like but he had that toughness as well. He had the humor. Sean Connery is probably my second favorite Bond, but it's like he took it too seriously. He had his little one-liners and whatnot, and he was great Bond. Don't get me wrong, but he just didn't have that like presence that Roger Moore did. Again, I think the third best Bond would be Daniel Craig, and I know a lot of people don't like him. I don't know if it's because he's blonde. I don't know if he's because he's rough and rugged, whereas like the older character really wasn't like that. But I've really enjoyed the movies that he's been in. Pierce Brosnan would be the next favorite Bond. I think the movies that he was in, with the exception of Goldeneye, which was really good, were kind of not really that good overall in terms of the overall series, as far as not being the best Bond movies. But I think he played a great Bond, followed by Timothy Dalton. Now, I think Timothy Dalton is a great actor. I just don't think he was a good Bond in the two movies he was in. But in retrospect, they did try to get him when he was younger to come in and play Bond, and he didn't want to do it. I don't know if he was doing other projects at the time. Um, One of my least favorite Bonds. And then, of course, last and certainly not least, because really, I shouldn't say, like when I said about Timothy Dalton being my least favorite, they were all good in their own way. But last would probably be George Lazenby, who was only in that one movie, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which the movie itself was actually pretty good. I think maybe had that had Sean Connery in it, probably would have done a lot better than it did. So, but the Bond series, the things I like, and again, it's from a different era. Younger people nowadays, you're not really going to understand. I sort of grew up. I grew up on the tail end of that era, the whole Cold War, Red Scare thing. Whereas, well, maybe you will understand because there's still espionage going on like crazy, but now it's not done in person; it's done with drones and on the computer and stuff. This was, these are based on real life things that were happening. I mean, okay, maybe not this exact thing in these movies was happening, but real people were risking their lives every single day, to protect the free world, going undercover and doing all these crazy covert missions and whatnot. So that's something I've always enjoyed. Um, Action, they always have pretty good action in the movies. Like I said, they've got a little bit of humor to them. Um, just the stories are generally pretty good. Like I said, I've pretty much liked all the Bond movies. you know, Sorry guys, I'm a little choked up here. Not from that, just allergies. I apologize. They've all got their good and bad points. There are some that are really, really good that I'll talk about. There's some, the rest of them are, pretty good, and then there's a couple of duds there. But look, when you've been around for 50 years and you're making these many movies, there's going to be some turds in the way there. So, but let me quickly talk about my favorite one. Like I said, it's this one that I picked up before, Moonraker. This is kind of like James Bond meets Star Wars, Star Trek, however you want to kind of do it. It's like James Bond in space. Um, I personally love this one because this is. I don't know if this was the first Bond movie I saw, but it was one of the first. A lot of people are going to tell you it's cheesy, it's corny, but it's got Richard Kiel as Jaws, which is like another character that was in a lot of them. That's very popular. Again, Roger Moore. It just my love for science fiction, I guess, made me love that movie so much more. But I just overall, I really think it's a great Bond movie. A lot of people don't. You know, they hate the whole sci-fi crossover aspect of it. You know, they like the more grounded ones, which I can totally understand because I do too. But again, love that movie. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it. Check that out. Great fun, just a fun Bond movie. Like I said, Roger Moore's movies, you know, like I said, he could be stone cold serious, but he had just that suave, that like the humor. Just he killed it. I mean, like I said, most people do love Sean Connery, and like I said, he was a good Bond, but Roger Moore was just to me light years ahead. He's like the Adam West of Batman, like Roger Moore. You know, like certain characters you're always going to associate with a certain actor, actress, whatever. You know, whereas Adam West is always Batman to me, Roger Moore is always 007. And my personally, out of all his movies, I think that was the best one. My next favorite one is a much more recent one. It's two back from where they're at now. It's called Skyfall. This was a great one. It's got Daniel Craig, Judi Dench. It's got what's that guy's name? I can't think of the actor's name. The one from No Country for Old Men. I can't. He plays like a rogue agent. Um, Bond gets shot, and you know, kind of disappears off the grid for a while. They bring him back in, and he's not the man he used to be. He's not confident. He doesn't have the skills he used to be. Uh, he didn't have the skills he used to have. He's just not the same man ever since this injury, and it kind of plays off that, and actually for the first time digs into the history of the character James Bond, which was really cool. Had Albert Finney in a small role at the end that they were trying to get Sean Connery to play, but he wouldn't do it, which would have kind of supplanted a lot of fan theories that about the James Bond character, which I can talk about quickly toward the end of this. This one might be a little bit shorter. Anyway, great movie. After that, I would say probably the first Daniel Craig one, Casino Royale, which brought Bond back in after the kind of the dreadful one, Pierce Brosnan's last one. There, I think it was called Die Another Day. It really wasn't that good. I mean, it's not his fault, you know, but it's just like the CGI was bad, the story was. Anyway, Casino Royale brought back Bond and it kind of upgraded him to this newer, more rugged, more vicious Bond. You know, Daniel Craig's first turn at Bond. I don't know if it's sort of meant to be like a reboot, soft reboot, or just retelling. Nowadays, who knows with Hollywood, you know, but it kind of just reintroduces the character and kind of tells. I assume it's kind of like his earlier years, you know, he's kind of rough around the edges time. I love that movie. It's got the guy Mads Mikkelsen. I don't know how you pronounce his name. The guy that was Hannibal on the TV show. That's been in so many other movies. He plays like the bad guy Lashif, and I mean, just he killed it. Also, I mean, they were both the way they were kind of playing off of each other was great. I've liked almost all the Daniel Craig ones, but Casino Royale is right up there with one of the top ones in my opinion. Not as good as Skyfall, but also really good. I'd say probably my next favorite one was the first one that Pierce Brosnan was in, Goldeneye. This was in the '90s. This is one of my all-time favorite Bond movies. It was kind of again tail end of the whole Cold War thing. So that's a big aspect of the movie. These I don't really want to spoil. I know, like, Twilight Zone, I've talked about them in detail and kind of given you plot points. These I'm trying to kind of keep it on the down low a little bit in case you get interested and you want to go back and watch them. It's not a half an hour episode. It's like a full length movie, so I don't really want to spoil much. But basically, that one, it's got Sean Bean in it, so you know what's going to happen to him. So it's got what's her face that played Jean Grey in the old X-Men movies. She was in it. A couple of well-known actors. When you see their face, you kind of know them. But Goldeneye was Pierce Brosnan's first turn as Bond, and I thought he really did well in that. He, like I said, he was a good Bond. The movies that he was in really weren't that good, but I thought he was a good Bond. Then my next two favorite are probably two or three favorite. Yeah, let's close it with these two, and then I'll move on to something else. My next two favorites are the Goldfinger, which was great. The guy that's trying to like sort of steal from the Fort Knox. That was a good one. It was one of Sean Connery's best ones in my opinion. and then From Russia with Love, which if I'm not mistaken, because I get them out of order sometimes, it's like the second Bond movie. I think, actually, I think that was the height of Sean Connery's portrayal of the character. Like he was really, really good in that one. So anyway, those are my favorite Bond movies. Like I said, it's been going on over 50 years. I haven't ever read any of the books, but I do watch all the movies. You got one more coming out, which is Daniel Craig's last movie. He wasn't going to come back. They lured him back with like $50 million. Hey, can't fault the guy. But that's coming out. It was supposed to come out this year, but the whole COVID crap kind of pushed it into next year. So we'll see how that goes. A lot of rumors about that one. We'll see how it all plays out. Some of the other things I want to talk about real quick. The aspects of the movies that I really like. Again, I grew up at the tail end of the whole Cold War. But I'm fascinated by this stuff because just to know how all this stuff that was going on behind the scenes that your average ordinary citizen takes for granted, doesn't even know about, how close to nuclear annihilation we were, to all these vicious things back and forth between us and the Soviets and other nations as well. So that was just kind of a fascinating aspect for me. I always loved the character of Q. And in the old movies, he's played by Desmond Llewellyn. I don't know if I pronounced it right. Great English actor. Unfortunately, he passed away in a car accident toward the end of the series. So they had to replace him. Was it John Cleese? I think took over for him, and then there's a younger guy now who's pretty good too. But the old Q, he just he'd come up with all the gadgets. So it's like every movie he'd give Bond all these crazy gadgets. And he was just like he was sort of like that slapstick comic relief character, but he was great. He was another guy. He nailed it perfectly. In the later movies, the character of M, which is always like the head of the MI6, the British intelligence, there were different male actors in the role in the old films. They were all pretty good and whatnot, but Dame Judi Dench took over around the time of Daniel Craig, and I mean she's an amazing actress, so she was great in it, in the role. So I really enjoyed her. You could so believe that she was like badass, could kill you with like a pinky. I mean, she's a great actress in pretty much anything I've ever seen her in. So I always enjoyed that character. Blofeld, kind of his arch nemesis, has been played by Donald Pleasance. Played him one time. He was pretty good. Telly Savalas played him one time. He was pretty good. That role's kind of changed over the years, and that was sort of the inspiration for the Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, slapstick kind of thing that Mike Myers did, which admittedly I like those movies. It's like I liked them when they came out, then for a while I didn't like them. Then I went back and watched them again, and it was like, yeah, actually they are pretty good. I'm not a fan of Mike Myers personally, but in those movies, he was good at playing all those different roles. Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, Fat Bastard, like all those different characters that he was playing. Those were, spoof movies like that are hit or miss, but that one was actually good. Of course, the Bond women. I mean, look, in this day and age, in the whole woke Me Too thing, it doesn't really work, but I'm not saying I condone any of that, but I mean, every movie was like these beautiful women that he would rescue or he'd interact with, or other spies or something. Look, I'm a guy, I'm a human. I don't condone, violence against women, and I wouldn't say that there was violence against women, but he was kind of like the player. I'm sorry, it is what it is, and they always had these beautiful women, and they were beautiful, but they weren't like the damsel in distress. They were badass in their own right, But of course, you have to play to your audience, and at that time in that era, they had to play the damsel in distress, even though they really weren't. Enemies in the movies were always kind of hit or miss, but like I said, Gold what the heck is it? I can't think of his name. Goldfinger, whatever. Goldfinger was a great enemy. The enemy in Moonraker was really good. Blofeld, that he was a good enemy. Jaws, of course, everybody loves Jaws. Richard Keel, however you say his name, like 7 foot, built like a brick shit house, metal teeth. I mean, he was in a couple of the movies. You gotta love Jaws. Odd Job, the Professor Toru Tanaka, the former wrestler. He became an actor, and he was in the Bond movie. I think he was in actually Goldfinger. With with the killer hat that he would throw. You know, he was also in that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I love, Running Man. You know him if you see him. Um, Other things I liked about the role. There was a lot of legal issues between the original owners and the production company. So back in 12 years after his last official run in Diamonds Are Forever, Sean Connery came back to make another unofficial Bond movie in the 80s called Never Say Never Again, which was kind of a play on him saying he'd never play the character again. It was sort of like a quasi remake slash reimagining of an older Bond movie, Thunderball, which was pretty good. Um, and, he's a little bit older in it, but he's still pretty good. If you're a Bond fan, unless you're like a super fan, you probably haven't seen that because it's not part of the official canon, the official series. Kind of hard to come by, but if you get a hold of it, definitely check that out. One last aspect I want to talk about is, of course, the music. Every Bond movie, minus the first one, I believe, and the unofficial one, Never Say Never Again, they have a theme song. It's not the whole not that one, but like there's just a theme song to the movie. They've been hit or miss again over the years. Tina Turner had one, Madonna had one, Sam Smith had one, Adele had one, but in my humble opinion, the greatest one, which I still listen to this day, it's still catchy to me, is from Roger Moore's last Bond run. It's called A View to a Kill by Duran Duran. That wasn't the best Bond movie, although it was, he had Christopher Walken in it, so it's like, you can't hate something with Christopher Walken. He's just such a unique personality and actor. But that song, "A View to a Kill" by Duran Duran, man, that song is like, oh man, I love that song. I think that's the best Bond theme song. Like I said, there's been so many over the years by so many different artists. You take your pick. People are going to debate who's the best Bond, what's the best movie, what's the best music, but I've kind of laid it out for you, my opinion on it. Great series. I hope it continues. I'm looking forward to the next one. See how it plays out in this modern world that we're in now. Everything changes eventually, so I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. But just wanted to share that with you guys. Like I said, I've always enjoyed the Bond movies. If you've never seen any of them, check them out. You'll see how you feel. They've all got a different feel to them. Some are more serious, some are more campy. Some are grittier. The newer ones are a little more grittier. But a great thing. I'll end it up quickly here because I'm kind of tired. But one thing I wanted to double back on real quick that I had talked about earlier was Skyfall. The character played by Albert Finney is sort of like the caretaker of Bond's ancestral home where he grew up. And Sean Connery, they wanted him to play that role. And it would sort of be like the first time like a Bond meets a Bond. And for the longest time, there was this theory that, James Bond 007 is not only a code name, it's just like whoever is number 007, they become James Bond. So that explained why it was like a different actor. Okay, yeah, in the real world, people get older, they move on to different things, so logistically it makes sense that it's a different person. But, that theory didn't really hold water because in one of the older movies, Bond gets married, and then in one of the much later ones, he goes to visit this grave of the person, that got killed, his wife that got killed pretty much right away. It is what it is. It would have been cool. It would have been a cool little touch had that happened, but whatever. I still think that was a great movie. Anyway, hope you guys have been enjoying these videos. If you do, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the little bell there to give you notification whenever I post a new video. I try to post them fairly frequently. It's been a little rough the last week because there's just been so much stuff going on and I've been so tired. But, generally speaking, I want to keep doing them at a fairly regular click. I had a rare day off today. I did have a lot of personal stuff I had to take care of, but I did actually not write, but kind of lay the outlines out for a couple of episodes upcoming, which is kind of, refreshing. So it's like I have them ready. It's just a matter of making the time to sit down and go through them. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you for joining me again. Like I said, please subscribe to my channel. Like the videos, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. I want to give a shout out to my old Army buddy Liz. I don't usually drop names, but She did subscribe, and she's one of the people that has like a non-private subscription on her YouTube settings. So it's like it actually shows me, hey, Elizabeth subscribed to you. Like whereas normally it doesn't really show anybody. So whoever else did subscribe, guys, I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy it, and we will see you in the next video.